So before we shift to learning a little bit more about what corporations are looking for in acquisitions, I want to throw it back out to the audience. I want to break up the energy a little bit. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the day. So any questions about what we've tackled thus far? And if I see no hands, I'm going to call people. Yeah.
She'd already threatened.
So, yes.
Kind of to your point of, you know, if you have a personal connection to, sorry, let me take a step back.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking, you know, going through the M&A process, or, I mean, even raising capital, a lot of times, you know, when people try to beat you up over your valuation, you're forced to say things like, revenue is not the underpinning of value, and things along those lines. It's like, I have IP, I have this product, I have all these
right.
Oh.
No, that's, go ahead.
Let me try this again.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you are trying to sell your business, or you're going through the process of an acquisition, I'll say the phrase again, being something like, revenue is not the underpinning of value. You have stuff like product, you have maybe LOIs that you haven't really seen the revenue from, or things along those lines. How do you normally think about actually the acquisition of a company that is in the process of growing, without just saying, okay, you made 15 bucks, so here's some Skittles, and get out of here, kid, you bother me.
So depending on the seat, on who the acquirer is or who is going to buy, it's going to differ. So a private equity investor, their general motivations is return, so they're really going to be stringent on your operating financial metrics. Top line, which is revenue, your EBITDA number, and your margins. A strategic, meaning like a corporate like I am, to your point, we look at it through different lenses potentially, right? So if we're Samsung and we're thinking about acquiring an AI company, hypothetically, we're always going to put it through this kind of buy, build, or partner test. How long, even though we have thousands of engineers, how long would it take for us to copy that solution? And you may have IP such that it would take us 3 years, but in order to compete with our competitors, we need to be in the market in a year. So we may pay you whatever premium and do that calculation and go. Or we may say, your valuation, what you're buying, what you want us to pay is so high, is there a way in which we can partner so we can kind of test out some of these assumptions, test out your product, you know, if your AI solution bolts onto our cell phone, and we can go from there, and if we see traction, then we're willing to pay a premium. And then the acquisition is honestly going to be a lot of that mix of looking at your revenue, looking at comparables, right, looking at precedent transactions, and try and have this mosaic to triangulate on a typical financial valuation. So that's how we think about it.
So in the end, I think it's a negotiation, right? So you're coming to the table and saying, I got this, and this. It's not revenue, but it's partnerships. It's an amazing all-star team. It's you know, different advisors that you had that have set you up in certain ways. Like, you're just throwing everything out there to try to bring value to your company in some way that's not revenue. So when you're an early stage company, that you're kind of in that early stage of tech and talent, they're trying to acquire your tech and talent. You're trying to put together the best package, the prettiest package you can, and say there's more value to this than just a multiple of my revenue.
Yeah.
Just real quick to add on that is one thing to keep in mind is it's a two-way street. So sometimes a company's or entrepreneurs coming to a company saying we want to be acquired, but sometimes it's the opposite, right? I've had times where I'm actually doing a market scan and saying who is doing something that's exactly what we want. And so in that case, you don't even have to sell us on the revenue, because this is not going to be a return on investment from a revenue perspective, but it's just like we want to get into this very niche place in the market. So sometimes just being the leader in whatever you're good at is enough to get the attention of a big corporate.
Yeah, the one last thing I wanted to say, and sort of dovetails on that, again, with the strategic, right, or some of these corporates, that $15, right, even if it's, and even the LOIs, like, they may not even want that, right? They may literally shut that off, and they're going to be, so again, if we're wearing the Samsung hat, right, in this hypothetical situation, it's, is there the capabilities, right, and the capacity for you to then scale and provide value across our whole infrastructure, right? Like the 200 countries that we're in when we need to launch a product or we need to push an update or whatever, you know, we've got something that is in the works to be announced, right? And that could be additive. So now you're really flexing not your P&L or even projected revenues. They could maybe care less, right? What could you really do to offer? So then think at that point strategically, right? If you could showcase all of a sudden the invaluable sort of you know, contribution you can make, whether it's current product and or a mix of your team, and you know, in terms of speed, right? How and why you're so much further ahead. You know, I think that could really shift the dynamic even more so in your favor, more than you might realize at a negotiating table, even with a big like tech titan.
So I think exactly what they said, to really optimize your valuation in general, whoever is buying you, you need to really understand what they care about and focus on that. That's what they're going to pay.